Hello, beautiful people. My name is Paula Sinisterra. If you are new to my channel, I am a licensed associate professional counselor. So I'm a mental health therapist, basically, and I'm also a certified hypnotherapist. And on this channel, you are going to find all kinds of mental health, inspirational, motivational, and empowering videos. So if you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe down below and like this video if you find it helpful, so that more people have the opportunity to be reached by it, and we can begin to expand this community and to make this conversation on mental health and the tools, tips, techniques, and just taking away the taboo from it, so all of that can continue to grow. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about panic attacks. And if you're currently having a panic attack, and that's why you're seeking out this video, just know that it is your body going into fight or flight response, and it's doing what it naturally does when it thinks that you're in danger and it wants to protect you. So having a panic attack does not mean that you are actually in danger, or that any of the physical symptoms that you're experiencing are actually a threat to your life. It can feel that way, but that is not the case, okay? So I'm gonna break it down a little bit, what's going on, and give you a little bit of tools and just techniques for dealing with this and for overcoming it. This is not meant to replace actual mental health treatment. It's meant to educate you guys and give you some, just empower you in knowing a little bit more about what the whole panic attack system is about and what appropriate treatment might look like, okay? So something that I want you guys to know is that our nervous system is wired to keep us safe. It's wired for survival, right? So a lot of times when things happen that trigger us, or we feel nervous, or we feel psychologically threatened by a possible event, we'll start to experience these physical symptoms that may or may not make sense given the circumstances. But it's important to know that that fight or flight response in our body is very black and white. It does not see shades of gray. It does not function in shades of gray. It's either on or it's off, okay? Now, in the case of anxiety, you're gonna experience certain physical symptoms that are gonna be more generalized, and they're gonna be slower to come on and slower to leave, such as increased heart rate, tense muscles, maybe a queasiness in the stomach, things of that nature, trouble sleeping if it keeps going, loss of appetite, things like that. And these symptoms come on more slowly, and they also tend to leave more slowly, okay? When we are having a panic attack, it is a sudden flooding of our nervous system for optimal survival purposes. So whatever symptoms you're experiencing come on really fast, and they also leave much faster than with anxiety, okay? So something that is very common, for example, some symptoms that are very common are we might start feeling hot, our heart might start going faster, our breath will start being deeper but faster as well. And all of that is normal. All of that is your body basically thinking that it needs to prepare you to fight a threat. So as I've said in some other videos on my Instagram, I'm gonna link it down below if you guys wanna check it out. I put informational videos on there too. But as I've said on there, for most of humanity's history, we lived in circumstances that required a very physical, immediate response to threat and danger, right? So like if we were being chased by a lion or something like that, we did not need to sit there and process through whether or not we should act on it the way that now we might with, for example, like a threat could be like a boss that doesn't like us or something like that, which requires us to be present, a little bit calmer, and a little bit more grounded so that we can deal effectively with the situation. That is, the ability to do that is the newest development in our human brain, right? For most of human history, we have just had to respond very quickly to things, and that part of our brain is still very much there. Our nervous system is very much still wired like that for that black and white response. So when our body senses a threat or a danger, we start to feel these symptoms of anxiety. And in the case of panic attacks, what ends up happening is that we start developing a condition in which we become afraid of the fear and of the physical symptoms that go along with it, okay? In anxiety, we experience those symptoms, but we can handle it, or, you know, we start managing it. Sometimes it's a little stronger than others, and we do need medical help, or, you know, a mental health practitioner to help us navigate it. But when it's panic attacks, what happens is that we start becoming afraid of the symptoms, such as like increased heart rate, tense muscles, that hot, flushed feeling, that maybe like tunnel vision. All of that is our body responding effectively to a perceived threat, or something that's interpreted as a threat in the environment, okay? When we start to become afraid of those symptoms, then this conditioning and this connection starts happening in our brain, that when those physical experiences start happening in our body, we start to automatically, unconsciously a lot of the times, because, you know, people experience panic attacks coming out of nowhere, we start to automatically assume that we are in danger, right? So it's no longer, oh, okay, like I'm anxious and, you know, my heart's a little faster. It's my heart is going fast, and that means that I'm in danger, because we've started to create an association between these physical symptoms that happen during anxiety with ultimate danger, right? So what happens? Well, we experience the physical symptom. A lot of times we experience it subconsciously, like it can be very, very subtle. That's why people feel like panic attacks oftentimes happen out of nowhere. The physical symptoms might start out because we might be a little bit more stressed. There might be a little bit of tension and agitation building up in our system from our, you know, our daily life. And some of those symptoms start happening at a low grade. Our body and our brain pick up on it, and it is perceived as a threat, right? And suddenly the symptoms, when it gets perceived as a threat, our fight or flight system kicks on, okay? Once our fight or flight system kicks on and the symptoms intensify, what happens is that our brain, our mind, starts to make an interpretation about what's happening. When we're in the middle of a panic attack, the interpretation that we're gonna make is, I am in danger, or I'm losing control, or I'm losing my mind, or I need to get out of here, things of that nature, right? Like this is not okay. Whatever's happening to my body is not okay. So what we want to start doing, okay, because the mind and the body like to be congruent. So when those physical symptoms start happening and our mind starts to make this very panicky interpretation of the situation, when our mind makes that interpretation, it sends a signal back down to our body to go even further into the fight or flight response. When our body goes further into the fight or flight response, the thought process of panic intensifies even more, and so on and so forth. And it becomes a snowball effect, right? In addition to that, we engage in behaviors that we start to associate with the panic. So we might feel like we need to escape, we need to leave wherever we are, or we need to seek out medical attention and, you know, immediately act on this because we are interpreting it as like, this is really a threat and something really bad is happening to my body. Something really bad is not happening to your body. You are okay. What is happening is that, you know, your fight or flight response has been kicked on, and you have developed an association in your brain for being afraid of those physical sensations. Now, I will say, I mean, make sure that you've gotten a physical done at some point, and make sure that like you're not in a medical condition. But panic attack symptoms are very different from, for example, like heart disease, which the symptoms of heart disease come on when we're extra exerted. Often these panic attacks situations happen when out of nowhere. People really experience them out of the blue a lot of times, and that's why it's a panic attack, okay? So you are okay. Your body is going into a fight or flight response. It's basically preparing you for war. It's preparing you to keep yourself safe. Like it thinks that it's doing what it needs to do. The mind, though, is making an interpretation that like I'm in danger, right? So then like the system starts snowballing and we start, running for the door. We need to escape whatever situation we're in, or we call an ambulance, or we go to the emergency room time and time again. Which when we act on those behaviors, or when we act on those impulses, we're further sending a message to our system that the situation really is dangerous. And we really do need to take it extremely seriously whenever any of these physical symptoms come up. Not a good thing to condition ourselves with. So, one of the most important things for overcoming panic attacks is exposure and response prevention, okay? Exposure and response prevention is a type of therapy that exposes you to whatever you are anxious or afraid of and keeps you from engaging in the response that you would normally engage in that cements the cycle of anxiety, okay? So if you're gonna seek out a therapist, make sure that they know about exposure and response prevention and that they work with it, okay? So what we want to start doing is getting you over the fear of the physical sensations. That is how we start, okay? I tell my clients, in order to begin this process, to begin doing something called body scan meditations. This is a type of meditation in which you're gonna start taking your attention throughout your body, non-judgmentally, through each different body part, okay? Up and down, and you're gonna do it non-judgmentally so that you can start to become exposed to the sensations in your body, and you can start to learn what it's like to be in touch with your body without making up a story about it, right? Because like I was saying before, when we start making up the story, that's when the fight or flight response and those physical symptoms start intensifying. So we want to start learning how to feel whatever sensations are in our body without making up a story about it. So body scan meditations are a really powerful way to start training our brain to do that. I recommend downloading Insight Timer for this. That's INSIGHT. That's a free app. I love it. You can go on there. There's thousands of meditations in a really cool meditation community. And you type in body scan meditation and you'll get a ton of them that'll come up. You can start practicing this on a daily basis. I recommend, if you're struggling with panic attacks, do this for like 10 or, do it for at least 10 minutes a day, okay? Second, I want you to start taking that training from the body scan meditations, from, those moments where you're actually sitting and being trained in the body scan meditations. And I want you to take that training out into your normal life, okay? And I want you to start tuning into your body sensations at different times in the day. For example, that maybe times when you might feel a little bit anxious. So like if you are on the road, this is driving is a big trigger for a lot of people, and somebody cuts you off. I want you to feel the sensation. I want you to tune into what that feels like at the physical level, at the sensation level. That's the emotional level, without going into making a story about it, okay? So you're gonna bring yourself down to your body, maybe like anchor yourself with your breath, but start getting used to what it's like to pay attention to your physical sensations without making interpretations about it. That is where the training begins. Now, that's gonna be a lot harder to try to do if you're in the middle of a panic attack and you've never practiced this before. That's like going to a Super Bowl and never having practiced. So this practice is a really good groundwork and basis to start forming the structure from which you're going to be able to navigate and overcome panic attacks, okay? Thirdly, there is something called interoceptive exposure. That's just a fancy word for all of this that I've been describing, but more focused and more specifically, we start exposing you and you start exposing yourself to the actual physical sensations that you are afraid of. So this is actually done best with a therapist, depending on where you're at. My recommendation is always do it with a mental health practitioner. It's the most supportive, empowering, validating environment to do it in. But either way, I'm still gonna teach you guys how this works, okay? And see, you know, what you can take from that. You make a list of the physical sensations that you're afraid of, okay? And you rank them from the one that scares you the most to the one that scares you the least. What you start doing is you start with the one that scares you the least, and you start intentionally challenging yourself to face it. So if you are really triggered, for example, by your heart rate increasing, but that's like at the lowest of the rank, not the highest. I don't want you to go straight for the highest, go for the lowest. Then intentionally like do like 20 jumping jacks. Like practice what it's like to intentionally bring up your heart rate. Face into it, face into that sensation. Don't be afraid of it, right? As you guys are gonna hear me say time and time again, if you subscribe to this channel and you start following my videos, anxiety and panic attacks and all these different manifestations of anxiety, including obsessive compulsive disorder, kind of functions like a bully. So it scares us, it tells us these things are dangerous, we need to avoid these things, we need to make sure that we're not experiencing these things. The way that we overcome it is the same way that we would maybe like face into a bully, which is like, okay, cool, like I don't care, like whatever you want to throw my way, like it's not going to bother me, I'm unfazed, right? So we want to start facing into these things. If anxiety and the panic tells, and you know, the fear of anxiety, which is what causes the panic attacks, tells you that increased heart rate is bad, then I want you to start intentionally increasing your heart rate, right? And what you're going to do, what happens is that your anxiety is going to grow, and you're going to reach a level at which you think like, I can't really handle this, right? But you're going to stick with it instead of choosing like the typical escape plan or avoiding or stopping, and then your anxiety is going to go down naturally. And that's how you're going to overcome it little by little. Again, I would prefer that you do this with a therapist, but the whole premise of it is you're going to face into the physical sensations that you're afraid of one by one, starting with the lowest, okay? And I also want you to start talking back to it, talking back to the panic, talking back to the anxiety. Like, you know, once you start going on this treatment, if you feel that like your heart is racing or your heart's pumping fast, I want you to start talking back to it like, all right, come on, give it to me. Is that all you got? Like, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. Let's go. If we're going to experience this, we're going to experience it now. I want you to start dropping resistance to the physical sensations and allowing yourself to go there. The sooner you can do this, the sooner you can let yourself feel those physical sensations that you think are so dangerous, the sooner that you tell yourself that you can handle it and you can tolerate it, you're not going to be scared of it, the sooner that you're going to overcome the panic attack pattern, okay? Because it's all rooted in fear of the physical symptoms of anxiety, okay? So by starting to say like, all right, is that all you got? Like, bring it on. I don't care. Like, worst case scenario, lean into it, face into it, invite it. Once we start doing that, once we start dropping the resistance, our mind starts to see it as less of a threat, okay? When we see something as a threat, that fires our fight or flight response even further. So when we try to resist panic attacks, rather than learning to navigate them by non-judgmentally observing our physical sensations, then we are telling our body and we're conditioning our system even further into the panic attack pattern, okay? So begin doing the body scan meditations so that you can start practicing what it's like to observe your physical sensations without a story. Because when the physical sensations that normally trigger a panic attack or the physical sensations that are a panic attack start happening and you have some training in just like feeling the sensations without making a story about it, then you almost like strap on and just ride it. You just ride the panic attack until it passes through you, and it will pass through you. And it'll pass through you much faster if you don't resist it, okay? I want you guys to, you know, when it comes to this, there's one quote that will really help you out on the journey, and that is, or maybe two quotes. I'm going to give you two quotes. One of them is, whatever you resist persists, okay? And the other one is whatever you feel heals, right? So come back to your senses when you feel a panic attack coming. Not because you're trying to neutralize the fear of the panic attack. That's not the intention. That is not the goal. Come back to your senses so you can ground yourself, so you can learn to observe it and lean into the physical sensations, right? We're leaning into the physical sensations. We are not trying to neutralize the fear of them. As we lean into them, we begin to more quickly take away the interpretation that those physical sensations are dangerous, okay? And, in the case of panic attacks, a lot of times we start associating certain places or certain situations with like, I'm gonna have a panic attack there. No, I want you to get that out of your head. It is not the place, it is not the situation, it is nothing outside of you that is causing the panic attack. The panic attack is being caused by your fear of physical sensations. So I want you to start becoming friends with whatever physical sensations you are afraid of during a panic attack. And a mental health therapist that is trained in exposure response prevention and interoceptive exposure. Those are some fancy words, but say them again. Interoceptive exposure and exposure response prevention. A mental health therapist that knows about that will be able to help you navigate this. Okay? I hope you guys found that helpful. If you did, again, like, share, subscribe so that more people have the opportunity to find this and benefit from it, and we can begin to grow this community. All right? Love you guys. If you have any questions whatsoever, comment below. I would love any, any topics or anything that you guys want me to expand on further, that you want me to make a video about. I would love nothing more than to hear from you guys, and and just respond to that and create content that is going to be the most helpful for you, and to take what I know and pass it on. All right? I love you guys, and check back in. I'm going to be doing these videos they're going to be releasing every Friday at 9 a.m. All right? Love you. Have an awesome weekend. Have an awesome everything, and we'll be talking soon.